Hi, welcome back to Tea Coffee Fantasy Football Podcast. I'm Matthew.
I'm Jacob.
Today we're just going to talk about Week 4 thoughts. Right now we're recording Sunday night at 9:07.
Yeah, 9:07 Eastern, that is. I'm still in Central. It's 8-7 Eagles Niners game. Eagles just had to punt. So, and right now, yeah, they're facing Nick Mullins. So, yeah.
Fun fact about Mullins, I'm pretty sure he's second all-time in his first 8 starts in passing yards and touchdowns.
Yeah, I think I saw that too. He was second to Mahomes. So, yeah.
Yeah, that's an interesting case.
Yeah.
Yeah, so do you want to go first, I guess, and any thoughts that you've had for this week? It's been a wild week.
I guess let's go game by game. Let's
Mhm.
start with one that a fantasy friendly game. Browns Cowboys earlier today.
Oh my. Well, I just want to say first of all, the Cowboys defense is absolutely atrocious. I don't think I've seen a worse defense so far in the league. But yeah, the Browns ate. Odell Beckham went off. It was great to see him in the rushing game and the passing game with the trick plays and stuff. And I guess on the Cowboys side, Dak Prescott showing he can be truly elite. He put up 500 yards today, and even though he didn't get the win, I think he's on pace to continue his top 3 quarterback performance.
Yeah, as a fantasy option, Dak is definitely top 5, but um, in terms of real life, you'd think he's a top. Just look at his numbers, you'd think he's a top 5 quarterback, but he's just not. I don't see him doing anything that Andy Dalton on their bench wouldn't be able to do 95% of.
Oh, I disagree. Did you see that throw he made to Amari Cooper for that touchdown?
Which one? The first one?
Yeah, I think on fourth down.
I still think Andy Dalton can make that throw on a consistent
That
basis.
throw, that was just a threading the needle
Well,
free defense
oh,
throw.
wait a minute. The first one oh yeah, that one you're talking about. No, yeah, actually, that was pretty impressive. But Dak also, he had like a couple drop picks, and he's working with more talent at the receiver position than pretty much anybody in the league, and that includes Kansas City.
That is true. And then I guess Nick Chubb. He got injured. What are your thoughts on it? His MRI is supposed to come back tomorrow, but even then, what are your thoughts on the backfield situation?
Uh, um, I, I, I am. I'm so sad just because I had Nick Chubb in our league in fantasy. He looked like he was going to have 200 yards today because the Cowboys defense is a dumpster fire, and he goes down in the first quarter. That was absolutely devastating. But now that he's got this Dearness Johnson, where did he come from?
You're just pulling out no names.
I had never heard of him before today. He's a second season out of USF. He's 24 years old. Uh, yeah, wow.
He averaged 7.3 yards per carry.
I mean, I think they'll still try to keep more or less a committee. I don't think they want to give one back more than 25 carries in a game, which for their winning sake, I think that's wise just to spread it around so that their legs aren't so heavy late in the season.
Mm-hmm. And I don't know if I'm overreacting on this, but Ezekiel Elliott, I'm slightly worried. He's had 2 subpar performances 2 weeks in a row, and especially with the Cowboys being behind early so often, I think they're going to stop using the run in general. Are you worried about Zeke, or do you think it's just a few games he's going to break out again?
I think there will be games where he breaks out again. I mean, they fell behind, but even so, he still had 20 and a half points in PPR format. So even if they get down, Dak will check it to him in garbage time.
Mm-hmm. What's the next thing we're going to talk about?
Jeez. I'm not sure. Let's see. Maybe then Jags, Bengals. That's interesting.
Joe Burrow got his first career win. Props to him.
Yeah.
One person who screwed me over was Joe Mixon.
Oh man.
I was playing him in my one of my bigger leagues. My opponent had him, and he proceeded to drop 42 points on me.
Oh my god.
That just came out of nowhere. I was shocked. It was the breakout performance we were all looking for Mixon.
Man. Yeah. I mean, I'd say we were both pretty high on him coming into this season.
Mm-hmm.
And first few weeks were a little rough. He didn't score a touchdown. I think he even had less targets than Giovanni Bernard in the passing game, I believe. And it was getting a little worrisome, but then against a not so great Jags defense, he finally let his talent shine.
I think something I guess to be cautiously pessimistic about is the next two games are against Baltimore and Indianapolis, who both have great run defenses. So I don't think expecting nowhere near as good performances as this the next 2 weeks.
Yeah, but I think it's encouraging that Mixon got 6 targets and Giovanni Bernard got none. So I think that's a relief. I think Burrow will still look to throw to him even if they're down by 20 or whatever against the Ravens.
And then I guess on the Jags, the only noteworthy player was DJ Chark. He's continuing on his breakout season from last year, and even though it's a terrible situation, he's going to be a great young wide receiver, I think.
Yeah, Chark is definitely a guy for Dynasty because he can really play. And Minshew and he seem to really have that chemistry going. At the Jags, they might want to keep Minshew unless they get the number 1 overall pick.
I don't know. They seem to have so many other weaknesses, and a quarterback is not that bad. I would honestly stick with Minshew if I was the Jags. Like, he's been competitive.
This may be kind of out there, but I don't think Dak Prescott is that much better than Gardner Minshew.
Oh, geez. That's a bold take.
I
I'm
mean,
a Dak hater coming to the season, but now I believe he's top 10 for sure, talent-wise.
I mean, Dak doesn't sense pressure as well. He should have had like 3 picks this game. And there are just too many times where the quarterbacking job in Dallas is honestly so easy for him with all the talent he has. Either he's throwing to a wide open Amari Cooper who's always open somehow, or he's just throwing a jump ball to Michael Gallup, which he will win more often than not. Mm-hmm. Which, don't get me wrong, that'd be sweet just to have a guy as good as Michael Gallup and Amari Cooper and CeeDee Lamb too, but still.
I think at this point, Dak's better than Carson Wentz.
I mean, this season, I would probably agree with you because going into the season, I would have told you that Wentz was a top 5 elite quarterback and Dak was overrated. I still think Dak is a little bit overrated, but Wentz has been playing he's been bad for a bit of the season, and it seems to be carrying over into tonight.
Do you want to talk? Do you have any notes about the Bears-Colts game?
Not well. I guess first let's just talk about the Bears and their quarterback change because as a Packers fan, this is
I think you're enjoying this.
I am, and we have to. Well, not entirely, because I do want to talk about last week as a Packers fan. So the Falcons are up. They're 26-10 in the third quarter. I turn the game on. I'm kind of like, oh, okay, they're up by 16. I'll just kind of watch this till the end. Trubisky is actively just being horrible, just being completely terrible. Matt Nagy finally gets an excuse to bench him after he throws a terrible interception. Nick Foles comes in, finally actually executes the offense against a horrible Atlanta defense, and they win the game.
I was shocked, and it's like there's such a big difference between Nick Foles coming in as a backup and Nick Foles as a starter. Like he was atrocious today.
Is it? This might be the best plan for the Bears at quarterback because Nick Foles was not so great today. Start Mitch, and if they win the game, if they stay ahead the whole game with Mitch, then they win the game. But if they're down by 2 scores in the third quarter, put Foles back in.
Honestly, I would not be opposed to that at all. He's not a starter. He's just he's the best backup in the game.
Best backup in the game, yeah, but there's a reason he's still a backup, not a full-time starter.
And he showed that today. But I don't know. I guess one person who I was super high on was Allen Robinson. He just has one of the highest floors in the league just because he's getting 10-plus targets a game. And he finished today with 23 points, had 28 points the week before. So I think he's getting on the right track to be a top 10 receiver this year.
Yeah, that's true. And I think having Foles in is honestly a dramatic upgrade because I can't count how many times in the first 2.5 weeks that Mitch Trubisky either missed a wide open Robinson or just saw him and didn't throw to him.
Yep.
And it probably robbed Robinson of about 100 yards and a touchdown in that span.
Oh, for sure. Week 2, he was 3 for 9 just because all of his passes were off.
And there were so many times Mitch just looked at him, didn't throw to him. It was so frustrating, but getting Foles in there was low-key really good for Allen Robinson. And another guy that a rookie receiver on the Bears who I really got a chance to watch today, Darnell Mooney. You should probably pick him up. This guy can really play.
Mm-hmm. And opportunity is key, and the Bears have no receivers other than Robinson, so there's lots of opportunity for Mooney.
I still have Anthony Miller, but Miller isn't having that breakout. Instead, that breakout seems to be going to Darnell Mooney instead.
Yeah, he's a good pickup. He's going to probably be in the waiver wire in most of your leagues, so.
Yeah.
On the Colts side, I guess the only player that's kind of noteworthy is Mo Alie-Cox. He just came out of nowhere, and he seems to have taken the number one role as tight end 1. And Rivers loves his tight ends. So what do you think? Do you think it's a sleeper worth adding going ahead?
I think he's worth adding because Rivers throwing to former basketball players, it seems to work out because Gates was a former basketball player, Mo Alie-Cox was a former basketball player. Rivers seems to like him, and in offseason where they didn't have enough time to develop chemistry with receivers, Rivers seems to latch on to Mo Alie-Cox.
What game are we going to talk about next?
Let me see.
Do you want to talk about, I guess, the Bills game?
Yeah, the Bills-Raiders. Yeah, that was.
All right, so I guess I'm going to start off by just Josh Allen. He's amazing. I think last year the focus was on his accuracy, but this year I think he's gotten that under control. He's a rushing threat too. He's making Cole Beasley look good, and he's quarterback too right now. He's put up 25 points in 4 games. I think he's as good as a quarterback as right now as anyone.
Yeah, Josh Allen has been just amazing this year, and Josh Allen's played like definitely top 10, top 5 quarterback, and fantasy-wise, it's carried over. He is really a lot of fun to watch.
And then the Diggs-Allen connection is really fun to watch as well. They've fit in every single week. Diggs has had 2 100-yard games already, and while the touchdowns aren't there, there's definitely a connection between those two.
That trade really just seems to have ignited something in both Diggs and Allen. They really realized that they could be part of just a really special offense, and a really special quarterback, frankly, in Josh Allen, who has the strongest arm in the league from anybody not named Patrick Mahomes.
Mhm. What do you? I don't know. What do you think of Josh Jacobs? Because I was watching him a bit. I don't watch him a lot, but I was frankly underwhelmed by him. I was looking. Apart from his week one, he just hasn't been his same self this year. And like, he was drafted in a lot of leagues in the first round. And I really don't think he's living up to it. He had a one good game week one and nothing else.
I think the touchdowns will be there eventually. He's gone up against some tough defensive lines. New Orleans has a pretty underrated D line. New England obviously is coached by Bill Belichick, and the Bills D line is still good. I think once we start getting into some better matchups, although then they go to Kansas City,
And Tampa
which they
Bay.
probably won't need to run the ball anyway because they'll be down 20 in the first quarter.
Then they're going to Tampa Bay, then Cleveland, then the Chargers, and the Broncos, then the Chiefs again. So that's a pretty hard stretch of matchups.
Yeah, but once you get to, say, Atlanta, the Jets, he could really. I still think he'll pop later in the season. You just kind of have to ride some of the lows that come with the matchups.
Mm-hmm. But yeah, I guess going off of that of disappointing running backs, Kenyon Drake. Is it safe to say last year was a fluke, or is it too early?
I wouldn't. I'm not out on Kenyon Drake. I still think there's a chance. They don't seem to throw to him as much as I really thought they would, but most of the rushing production is coming from Kyler Murray, and that's a bit of a concern.
Mm-hmm. I don't know. I was looking back at his out-of-order performance last year, and it was, if you look at his matchups, it was really hit or miss. Like 1 week he scored 7 and 9, and the next 2 he scored 39 and 33. So like, I don't know. It was just kind of a fluke. And we've seen this year he hasn't been that efficient in the run game, and DeAndre Hopkins has taken the lion's share of the targets. I don't know. I don't think. Like, when you add a number one receiver to the offense, I really don't think you could sustain the same production as you did last year.
Yeah. Kenyon Drake. Let me see what his matchups are heading down.
He has the Jets.
Okay, you can still start him against the Jets. The Jets are dead.
Well, he is injured, chest injury.
Oh, yes, he is. Oh, yeah, I remember I saw him take that shot. Initially I thought it was a head injury, but I guess to the chest.
I don't know. I just found the stat about Drake. Let me try to find it. His target share in the past this season has been 5%, 6%, 3%, and 0%. And last season when he was a Cardinal, it never dropped below 10%. So I think this is something to be worried about. And like, everyone was saying, oh, today's going to be his breakout game, and he just produced like you said.
Yeah, I think DeAndre Hopkins really probably has hurt Drake's value as a receiver.
Mm-hmm. But then someone on the other team, Mike Davis, he has really stepped up for CMC being out. 22 points, 16 carries for 84 yards and 1 touchdown. He's a must-add if you're waiver wire, especially given them if he has a good matchup.
Yeah, I mean, he's probably a quick fix until Christian McCaffrey comes back.
And that's about 4 weeks, I think.
Yeah, so if you need a flex option in the coming for the next 4 weeks until you can reactivate CMC off your IR, you should probably add Mike Davis.
Mm-hmm. What game? Do you want to talk about the Rams game? Because that kind of frustrated me.
Yeah. I mean,
my thing, can Woods and Kupp coexist at all?
I think they can. It's kind of one or the other, and you're rolling the dice.
Yeah,
with them.
That's the rough part.
It's not a bad option, though, to maybe put both Woods and Kupp in your starting lineup, because that is if they have a good matchup. That one might pop for 25, and the other might just have only 5. But if you just want to secure a way to have points that week, and you have both of them on the roster, starting both of them simultaneously might not be a bad idea.
Yeah, I've been doing that in my main league, and it's been rough. Like, one week, one puts up great numbers, and the other week they don't.
It's kind of a discounted version of what Evans and Godwin were last year. I mean, they were part of a more explosive passing attack. They're two, I'd say, better, more talented receivers. Nothing against Woods and Kupp. Those two guys
Yeah.
are phenomenal, though.
I don't know. I guess one thing everyone was saying, like, oh, Darrell Henderson's now the lead back, and he disappeared week 4. So, like, I don't know. I'm avoiding the Rams backfield just in general. What about you?
I think so too, because McVay, like Shanahan, will run a committee. They'll just go with the hot hands, and that's about it. Because this Rams backfield has been chaotic as any.
Oh, Debo had a great run. Oh my!
Oh
like
yeah,
a 20-yard screen pass for Debo. He looks back.
yeah, I saw that.
What game? Do you think there's anything noteworthy to talk about in the Seahawks game? I mean, Russell Wilson failed to. He didn't have a great matchup at all, or a great week at all.
He's still really good. He's still Russell.
Yeah.
Yeah. What through
real life? Russell Wilson was amazing, but fantasy wise, he wasn't. Or he wasn't Russell Wilson amazing.
I mean, he still had 22 points, I believe.
He had 20 points.
Oh. I mean, I wouldn't sweat it. I think 20 points might just be the floor with Russell. He should. Oh shoot, Mullins threw a pick.
They shot McMullins.
I don't know what Mullins was looking at. I think he just threw it to Rodney McLeod, but whatever.
So, do you just want to do some who are some must adds for you on the waiver wire?
Yeah.
You want to talk about running back or wide receivers first?
Receivers. What do I like? I think Justin Jefferson, if you don't have him, if you didn't add him after his 180-yard performance, you should probably do so now, because he's shown that he's here to stay, and he's just seized that number 2 role.
Mm-hmm. I guess 2 that I have. Tim Patrick on the Broncos. Right now, the Broncos, they're injury devastated. Sutton's out for the season. Hamler hurt his hamstring, and Fant's out with an ankle injury. And yeah, what's his name? Patrick went off last week. He had 6 receptions for 113 yards and 1 touchdown. And I think he's a good receiver. He's a good go up and get it receiver. And there's no other good receiver. Not a lot of other good receivers other than Judy. So there's gonna be all the opportunity. Plus, he's going up against New England and Miami, which aren't really good passing defenses, at least for wide receivers.
With Hamler and Sutton and potentially Noah Fant at this point out with injury, Tim Patrick is basically their number 2 option. So he's definitely worth an ad. But the question is, when's he going to get hurt? Because the Broncos just...
Oh, yeah, it's been rough. I think he's had half our starters get hurt or something.
Yeah, and the fact that you Broncos beat the Jets is just, oh my gosh. I gotta talk about the Jets at this point. I can't hold it in any longer. I don't get why Adam Gase has been allowed to return to coach the next week, every single week.
Yeah, their team is so bad. People are like, "Oh, paying for Trevor," but I'm sorry, Trevor Lawrence isn't going to solve your problem. You need an entire team, not the quarterback.
there's a chance maybe they are keeping Gase so they can get Trevor. Like they'll keep Adam Gase, they'll go 0-16, and they get Trevor Lawrence. But as long as that, I wouldn't be completely opposed to.
I don't know. I don't think Darnold's the problem. I think everything else is the problem but Darnold.
Yeah, Darnold gets a lot of crap. Some of it is deserved. He's not a very good decision maker. He throws some Jameis Winston-esque interceptions, but he's still a playmaker. And at times, I feel he's the only thing keeping this team afloat, if you can call them afloat at all.
Yeah, it's rough. I know they're playing the Chiefs in a few weeks, and that's going to be a really bad night.
Oh my gosh. How much is Kansas City going to be favored by? Are they going to be favored by what's the line? Kansas City by 18, 20?
Oh, that's a lot more. I think it's the highest of all time, maybe. Yeah, right now it's. Yeah, it's going to be a lot, though. Multiple touchdowns for sure. Yeah, I guess another one I have is Laviska Shenault. He's kind of like a Swiss Army knife. He can rush, he can catch, and I think they're finding really good ways to, utilize him. Because I guess he went 5 for 86. And then over the past 2 weeks, he's been targeted 13 times. So there's definitely a spot in the offense for him, and he's a pretty easy next few weeks with Houston and Detroit too.
I really like actually watching Minshew and these receivers. I think they have really good chemistry. They're all really smart. I think that they complement each other really well. And Shenault is, I mean, think about he's like what Cordero Patterson could have been. He's just like a much better version of Cordero Patterson.
And then I guess one more pickup I have is Justin Jackson. So you saw Austin Eckler go down with an injury. I believe, what was it? Was this his knee, right?
It was his knee. And he's hamstring and hyperextended knee, and he's expected to miss multiple weeks.
And then the second string was Josh Kelly, but he didn't perform that well, honestly. So I think Justin Jackson's gonna get a lot of the workload, and I guess there's a lot of opportunity. And where there's opportunity, there's points.
Yeah, I think Josh Kelly will bounce back. Josh Kelly is a good player, but Justin Jackson, I'm sure, can definitely fill in until Eckler returns.
Mm-hmm.